Hi, you're listening to the Diablo Podcast. We are online at diablopodcast.com, and this is a service of diabloinkgamers.com. I am your host, Flux, and I am joined this week by Wolfpaq.
Hello.
And The Eliminator.
Guten Abend.
Busily testing the Diablo 3 beta. You guys just obtained your first access a couple of weeks ago, yes?
I got it actually on the 22nd, but couldn't play it until the 30th because I was out of town.
Was that torture?
Yes. I was sitting there trying to do anything I could to get it to work on a crappy laptop and working on like a wireless internet that was the speed of like one you'd get at Starbucks, and no, it does not work.
You were on Christmas break vacation?
Yep.
Visiting friends or something, or?
Yep.
And it was the worst Christmas ever.
Pretty much.
You just wanted to get home and play Diablo 3.
Yep. I talked to one of my other friends in New York and gave him my password and everything, and so at least somebody could play it, I was saying to myself.
Was he sending you screenshots and torturing you in various ways?
No, not really.
Probably not. Too busy.
Not a very good friend then. And how was your first beta experience, Wolfpaq?
Well, I actually did get to play a couple weeks in September. But it was really fun getting to play again and experience all the changes. So yeah, it's looking. I mean, I really like almost everything they've done except for one big negative, which I can get into later.
Yeah, try and remember to bring that one up before we're done here.
Yeah, I will. I will.
And we're going to talk. This is actually part one of what's going to be a two-part podcast. 2 parts with an intermission. We're going to talk we three tonight for an hour or so about various stuff. And we're going to save some topics, and then I'm going to get another one going this weekend with Nineball and probably one of you guys as well. So we definitely want to talk about, well, just kind of your first impressions. I mean, you guys had both been following Diablo 3 forever, and you both played it at BlizzCons a few times, yes?
Yeah, I played it last BlizzCon. That was the first time I played it.
Same here.
So you had played a little bit, and that was the beta build, but you guys mostly played the arena, I guess. We talked about that in a previous show.
Yeah.
So now you've got no arena and all beta, and it's PVM. You can get into the quests and the whole story and play all the characters and stuff. How about you first, Wolfpaq? What did you do first? I mean, you played it back in September, but just at this recent run, did you have special things you wanted to try, or you just wanted everything?
I just wanted everything. I mean, I wanted to get to level 13 and see any major noticeable differences, like some of the skill changes and some of the passive changes and things of that nature. And so, yeah, I mean, I've just been in. Oh, and, like last time I played, the wizard damage was based on a hard-coded number that went up every time you leveled. And one of the huge changes I was really excited to test was the change to weapon damage. And I have to say, I mean, it's not a very noticeable difference. You do tons of damage either way. So
Yeah.
It's, I guess, you're fully dependent on your weapon now for damage, which I think is a good thing. It brings all the classes in line so that wizards won't have the advantage that sorceresses did in Diablo 2.
True, or at least we'll see how it goes long term in terms of the higher level weapons.
Yeah, that's true.
The thing that seems kind of a missed opportunity to me on this is that they have these bigger damage two-handed weapons, and those would appear to be a trade-off, that versus a wand, which generally has better spellcasting mods. But then you have these offhand orbs, which are all like 3 to 9 damage or whatever immediately, and so it just seems I've never had any situation yet in the beta since they made the weapon damage change for spells, where I, with a wizard or with a witch doctor, where I wasn't better off using a one-handed caster weapon plus their offhanded weapon instead of a two-handed weapon in general. So it's like, what's the point? It's like they have this option of a change, but it doesn't really ever affect anything.
Yeah, I agree. It's also, I mean, a one-handed weapon. Well, you want to use the off-handed weapon for the flat plus damage. I haven't seen too many strong two-handers, and I mean, I've played enough where I'm trying to min-max the damage I can get out of my character, and the strongest the flat damage boost on the offhand weapons, and you can get it on rings and amulets as well. That's really strong for increasing your damage. So I think that's a very strong motivator to use your class's offhand weapon for wizards and witch doctors. But for main hand weapons, I don't see why you would ever use a wand when you could just get a mace or a sword that has higher DPS. And
Yeah, with the crafting and stuff, it's
with crafting,
heck of a lot easier to get a higher DPS item than it is to try to find something.
Yeah, I've never even seen. There's a one-handed mace you can craft that the minimum it does is 15 DPS, and I have yet to see a wand drop that does 15. So I mean, yeah.
Isn't one of the higher crafting wands like 12.8 though? The apprentice wand or something?
Yeah.
So it's pretty close.
It's close.
I think it doesn't have the same modifiers though. It always seems that that mace, which I think is a 12th level crafting mace, is it maybe it's 9th? I'm not really sure. I can't remember now. But I made a bunch of them today that were all around 25, 24 damage. So
yeah, because
and there's no requirements to use anything. There's no strength or dex or any other requirements in Diablo 3. So
yeah, so make a bunch of those and you just pass them around to the spellcasters, and they all have pretty good DPS.
Well, let's just say that itemization is still a work in progress, shall we?
Yeah.
So looping back a little, Eliminator, your first chance. You finally got home from your hellish Christmas endurance test, and you charged at home and fired up your computer and downloaded the beta for 17 hours, and then you jumped on.
Well, actually, I had the beta ever since the initial release back in early September, and I was updating it, and I was thinking to myself, man, I've updated this game, this beta, and I might never even play it. This is kind of ridiculous.
And you patched it 8 times and you never played the damn thing.
Yeah. I was starting to get to the point where it's like, I'm just going to give up. I'm not going to worry about it. And then lo and behold, I'm out of town, and bam, there's the freaking email after I had a scare with some phishing email sent to my old email address saying that my account was hacked. So it was a crazy day when I found out that I actually got into the beta. So when I actually got home, though, it was pretty much all ready. All I had to do was just download the newest patch, and I started playing. I made up a one of each class, and started off with the wizard, and wanted to at least get past the Skeleton King.
So you played all the characters, and you're still enjoying it? Any general impressions of differences? I mean, you played it very briefly at BlizzCon. Obviously, you can sink into it more now.
Yeah, I mean, really at BlizzCon, it wasn't a true experience. It's just kind of like a little taste of what it could be. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing I came away with after these couple of days of playing it is, even though I'm pretty much beating it with every class, I'm still having a lot of fun just playing it. Even just going around and just killing things is a heck of a lot of fun.
That'll pass. So it's kind of hard to say this from the Diablo 3 beta because it's such a small portion of the game and the characters are only level 13 at most. But can you guys think of and then speak openly of the types of characters that you'd like to play in Diablo 2, and if you find yourself repeating that in Diablo 3? And I will go first so you have a chance to think, but in Diablo 2, I was a big fan of, I've always been like the mages and the archers in D1 and D2, and my favorite characters in D3 are in fact the mages and the archers. And I was not that big a fan of melee characters in D1 or D2, except that I like ones with lots of fast hits. Like I enjoyed playing Zealots or like Frenzy or Fury or whatever the hell the Barbarian one's called, dual-wielding Barbarians. And so I thought that maybe I would like the monks in Diablo 3 because you have lots of quick, close hits. But thus far in the beta, I have not found them or the barbarians as entertaining. And I think part of that is because you have so few skills available early on, and you really don't ever need to use any debuffs or any like strategy. Like it seems to me like the barbarian is just getting fun at level 12. You finally got 4 skills, and you can have like a debuff, 2 offensive skills. You can kind of do some variety of stuff, and then of course every single thing you hit dies in one shot. So it's just starting to get fun, and I really enjoyed Barbarians late game in Diablo 2. I like magic find barbs and stuff, but they were only fun for me after like level 50 when I had powerful skills, and I'm wondering if I will get the same progression in D3. I mean, what do you think, Wolfpaq?
Well, I was sort of the same as you. I almost exclusively played casters in Diablo 2 because they were so wildly overpowered compared to their melee counterparts. I mean, AoE was the name of the game in Diablo 2, and the melee, what they had, just couldn't cut it. Even a whirlwind bard could not compete with a elemental druid or an infinity sorceress. It just wasn't possible. But I have to say, beta has changed my impression, because the barbarian is amazing. I mean, he has a ton of AoE skills, and like you said, he has a debuff. But the thing that I like the most is just that when he hits things, it's like amplified times 100. Like, so for one of the examples in the beta, you can destroy the environment like crazy, and there's chairs, there's desks, there's packs of books, there's candlesticks, and when my sorceress, fires off an electrical or an electrocute, it hops to 3 things and they just sort of topple over. But when my barbarian cleaves anything, it just goes flying off the screen, and that is such a satisfying feeling. And especially it happens to monsters too. Like, I was just playing through one of the areas that is just packed with zombies, and one cleave just sends bodies and body parts everywhere, and I'm using an arcane enchanted weapon, so they're purplish body parts, and occasionally I'll be running a screen away and like a zombie head will land next to me, and it's just a really, really awesome experience. And also, leap attack is vastly improved. I will almost definitely keep that skill regardless of what build I end up going.
How about your take on that, Eliminator?
I was mostly a Necromancer player, and I really liked, though, surprisingly, a lot of people don't, but I liked the melee combat of the Assassin. I just liked the phonetic switching of multiple skills and layering them and then landing some big, massive hit with the finishing blow. That was always a fun... It was almost like a little mini game inside the game for me, and I would have a good time with that. And the third class I'd really played a lot of was the Amazon. I didn't really play. I played a little bit of the wizard, the sorceress, but not a whole lot. I never really played that much of the barbarian because I didn't find his skills really that all interesting in D2. In D3, though, I have to agree that the Barbarian is a heck of a lot better than he was in D2. Just the stuff you can do, like Wolfpaq was saying, with just hitting things and watch. I love watching it fly into the air and then land on the environment and then flip off the environment and go down, tumbling 1,000 feet down the pit. It's always enjoyable to watch that. But in D3, I think the most enjoyment I've had so far would be pretty close to the wizard, or just the surreal combat of the witch doctor.
You like the witch doctor?
I do, because it's like you watch it and when you're playing, and you're like, what is going on? This guy's like bizarre at times. The stuff that you do.
Yeah.
And I remember Jay had said something about the way they wanted to make the game feel when you're playing the witch doctor was you weren't sure if you were playing the game from the witch doctor's, like, I don't know, drug-induced hallucination or something like that. And that's what it almost looks like when you're playing, because all the colors and all the stuff that you pull out.
The stuff that you pull out. I should just cut that quote out for that could be your tagline.
The right. Stuff that you pull out.
I like Diablo 3 beta. Why? Because the stuff that you pull out. Do you find yourselves in real life really entertained by like explosions and monster trucks and stuff?
Well, in movies.
Do you think that I definitely noticed the barbarian, that it's fun just early on. You just get bashed or something, and just everything you hit leaves this trail of blood for 40 feet,
Yes.
and like it's like knocking through trees and gravestones are falling over.
I have fun with that with the witch doctor too, because with the fire bats, you cover such a large area, and then you just smash everything with it, and it's kind of funny how you get experience bonus for destroying environmental stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, they just encourage your worst impulses.
Yeah. Just go around and smash all these vases. No one's gonna mind.
And yeah, but it's for me the Barbarian. I mean, I enjoyed the visceral impacts, and the sound is really great too. I mean, you can't really hear that so much in beta videos, but I mean, if you play it with headphones, every time he does anything, it's just huge bass grunt. He's just rah rah rah.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about the game itself is just the way it sounds.
Yeah, we'll get to the sounds in a second. That's a whole other topic. But the play style of him. I mean, I've been playing actually Diablo 2 Classic some lately, just sort of to compare the early days. And it's just, it's very much the same sort of play with the Barbarian. You run up and hit stuff individually. Obviously, you get Cleave in Diablo 3, which can hit multiple targets. But I always just, it's basically the Diablo 2 Barbarian, but now when you hit things, they fly 30 feet in a trail of blood and scream, and there's something else destroys with it. And if you're looking just at the gameplay and you didn't really enjoy Barbarians before, you're probably not going to feel too differently. But if you're easily entertained by flashing lights and bright colors, like certain podcast guests appear to be.
Right.
Yep.
But do you guys think that'll last you? I mean, you haven't been playing the beta for that long. In 2 months of Diablo, you're gonna be like, oh great, another body went flying. Oh look, a zombie head. Woo.
I think you're selling Cleave a little bit short. Like the Barbarian had nothing like that in Diablo 2. I mean, Whirlwind was pretty much your one option for AoE, and now you have Leap Attack is an AoE, and Revenge. Revenge is incredible. I can't imagine a hardcore or Inferno Barbarian not taking Revenge. It's a 360 sweep that heals you for 5% of your max life for every monster you hit, and it activates. You have a 15% activation every time you get hit. So
you're getting hit pretty often.
And you're getting hit pretty often. Yeah, you just Leap Attack into the middle of a massive group, and then Threatening Shout, cut their damage flat in half, which is insane. I don't think the Barbarian had anything like that in D2 either. And then their stupidly weakened hits are proccing this 360 Cleave or Whirlwind, like one Whirlwind attack that heals you for a ridiculous amount. It's crazy. I mean, those three skills alone, Threatening Shout, Revenge, Cleave, make the Barbarian far better, in my opinion, than he was.
I mean, even just from the beta, granted we don't have access to all the skills, but I see a lot more interest in the Barbarian than it was in D2.
Yeah, long term especially. There's many more variety. I mean, we don't even have skill runes yet.
I know, and that's really gonna increase the longevity of the class.
I don't think anyone's really mentioned the monk yet. Any quick thoughts on that character?
I had a lot of fun with the monk. I like the new skill that they gave him, the Cyclone attack. What it's called? It sucks.
I haven't even played since they put that new patch in. I got to play a monk one of these nights.
It's really nice looking too, because you spin around and then they got like a little bubble of energy that comes, that expands off you. It looks really cool.
Does a lot of damage too, right? It's like 200 plus percent weapon damage.
Yeah, it does a good amount of damage too.
Yeah, finally a damage skill for the monk. Oh wait.
Well, the what's it called? The lash tail kick is actually pretty good now that they bumped up the damage quite a bit of it. Now it's what 260, I think, or something like that. So that's
so crazy. I didn't know
that. Yeah, it's a heck of a lot better now, and it doesn't have a cooldown, so it's just a spirit. Or monk spunk, as Flux like to call it.
That's what Ellie calls it, actually.
Okay, as like Ellie likes to call it.
I just play along.
So yeah, but it's not that expensive now, and it doesn't have a cooldown, so you can use it a heck of a lot more and do a hell of a lot more damage. So you should try it out. It's pretty good.
I really like Dashing Strike. I like that the emphasis in beta is the monk is the super mobile melee class who can pinpoint and destroy something.
I love the Dashing Strike too because it makes you invulnerable versus the freeze creatures when they go to freeze.
Oh, does it? I didn't know that.
Yep, you have certain things you get invulnerability to when you're dashing like that. If you keep dashing like repeatedly while you're attacking those creatures that freeze you, you will actually completely ignore it.
Right on.
It's like a strategy podcast built in.
There you go.
So jumping to a little bit different topic, the music, the sound, the NPC dialogues, etc. Obviously, you guys are big fans of some of the sound effects. Ugg smash, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just very satisfying to walk up to 5 barrels sitting together and just crush them all with one cleave or leap attack, or if you're a wizard, like a big line of destructible things, one quick cast of disintegrate, and it's all just ashes. Although just real quick, I don't like the sound effect of disintegrate. It sounds like a dentist drill, and it really bugs me.
Are you a dentist?
No, I hate the dentist.
Okay.
With his
Well, I
picture,
mean,
it looks like he's getting ready to be sitting in a dentist chair.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that you hate the dentist may be a connection to this,
Yeah.
to your opinion on the skill. Of course, many people love the dentist. They find the dentist drill very relaxing.
Oh, yeah.
Probably not.
I enjoy the one thing that I enjoy about a lot of Blizzard games is the time and effort they put into the sound quality and just all the sound bites that they have, like walking on grass, walking on stone, walking on wood, walking on, anything that you could think of, and then in different types of material too. If you're wearing plate or you're wearing leather, or if you're wearing, each thing will have its own sound effect as you have those footfalls. Or some of the great things that Blizzard does is taking their time to do those.
Two sound effects that I've heard a lot of complaints about from fans and forums and posts, and one of them is the crossbow sound effects for the Demon Hunters. Some people think those are really way too loud, and it's this thoink thoink thoink. And a lot of people are not fans of the general symphony of sounds the Witch Doctor makes. All those little ooga booga noises and his funky little chicken strangling sound effect.
I love the sound effects personally.
I was going to say, what do you think about the Witch Doctor, since you're a fan of him, Eliminator, and you like him?
I just love those little sound effects. Those crazy.
Yes.
I just love them.
And you don't feel it's un-Diablo-esque or something?
It's a witch doctor.
It's not hardcore enough?
No, I think it fits perfectly with his character. I do have to agree with the crossbow sound effects, especially for evasive fire. I think it is just a little bit
shotgun
too much.
sound.
Yeah, evasive fire is ridiculous. It does sound like you're putting off a shotgun when it's just a single target hit, and you're like, okay.
And it's really not even that powerful, too. So I kind of wish they would tone that one down a little bit.
Well, as we know, there are no guns in Diablo 3.
Yes.
Although apparently there are gun sound effects.
There's rockets.
Yes. There are rockets.
And grenades.
Yeah, lots of grenades. The grenade sound effect is pretty good, the explosion.
Yeah, I like that
They're
too.
fun. They're fun. Unfortunately, they're a little underpowered.
Yeah.
I've seen people do pretty well on them. They were really useless early on. They've gotten somewhat better. Of course, Chakram's gotten ridiculously powerful too over time.
yeah.
Yeah, that's I can't imagine taking a Demon Hunter without that.
Well, it's too easy if you take one. I usually just go with like rapid fire because it's a little more fun. You have to actually hit things. Chakram just like, okay, the screen's clear, moving on.
A lot like when I played in the PvP at BlizzCon, the rapid fire is kind of hypnotic. You get into using it and then you keep using it and using it.
Yeah, for people who haven't played, Chakram is basically like having, Blessed Hammer, but you can shoot it like 5 times as fast and while you move, and it goes through walls.
But you can't shoot it while you move. You have to stop.
Yeah, but you can click it. It's really quick casting.
It is really quick cast time.
And they kind of continue in front of you. And when the timing of one of the interesting things I find about the Demon Hunter is that her non-arrow skills are timed based on your weapons. And if you dual wield, you can cast chakrams as fast as you can shoot arrows, which is much, much faster than you can with a single bow.
Oh, that's interesting.
It seems like in the early going, the Demon Hunter is, especially since the last couple of patches, it's really a much better idea to use the dual pistol crossbow. There's no single bow that does anywhere near the damage you can get from 2 single crossbows.
Yeah.
Especially
and there's skills like Bolo Shot, does the damage, has that little explosion after a couple of seconds that's based on your weapon damage. And there's like really no reason to use that unless you just kind of want to. That seems like it would be a useful skill if you had like a Baraiza kind of crossbow, the D2, the huge damage, cold damage crossbow.
Yeah.
Or if you have a really huge damage bow that shoots a little more slowly, you use Bolo Shot, and that really amplifies it because it's based on weapon damage of the explosion, which has a big AoE effect. Whereas in the beta now, you just want to pew 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 as fast as you can, because everything will die very rapidly.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say our impressions of the weapons are really sort of based on the best we have available, and in every case, the best we have available is one-handed. Like the like you said, the handheld crossbows. There's a level 13 rare that you can craft, which means you can. There's nothing even close that you can get with a bow or a two-handed crossbow, and it's the same thing with melee. Like the best barbarian club I have found, like the two-handed mighty weapon, is still less damage than something that's really easy to craft one-handed. So there's no good way to do one-handed versus two-handed comparisons right now in the beta, just because of what's available.
One other point on the music. What do you guys think of the ambient sounds and the music? Are you looking forward to a future patch where they actually put music in the game that you can hear?
I enjoy the Tristram music a lot whenever
too.
you're in Tristram.
Is that during the loading screen or in the actual game?
Well, in the actual game.
Because the loading screen's got really good loud music, and then you get in the game and it just seems like all you hear are crickets.
Just gotta tweak your volumes a little bit, that's all.
Yeah, I do.
Outside of Tristram, the music it's alright. The ambiance, I should say, is fine. I think you don't really notice it as much, but I mean that's the point of it. You're not really supposed to notice it a whole lot.
Yeah, one of the first things I do with a game I play a lot is turn sound off completely, and it hasn't made me want to do that yet.
Well, you'd miss the Barbarian, half the fun.
Exactly.
I have done what a lot of people do in the beta, is I turn all the sound except for the music down to 30% and leave the music way up, because there's just so many areas where all you have is sort of this ambient noise and it's sort of this creepy background, kind of horror movie music. But I find myself missing, I've been playing Diablo 2 Classic lately, and then, I played Torchlight 2 fairly recently, and obviously those are both by Matt Ullman, the soundtracks, but just the music is much louder and it's much more part of it. Like, you go into some parts of Act 2 in Diablo 2, and you get, this really loud kind of, the weird, I don't even know, the Sultan's Palace and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just immediately hear this really, flutes and all kinds of kind of Middle Eastern sound effects and music.
A sitar.
And it seems like it really sets the tone a lot with louder. And plus, they keep the hell, it's like heavy metal's playing and stuff like that. But it's so far in Diablo 3 at least, it seems the music is a design choice. It's obviously the developers did it on purpose. It's not like they just haven't had time to write music yet. They've chosen to have very subtle, ambient kind of sounds.
Well, that might change though in later parts of the game. We don't know.
Yeah, I hope it does personally. But you guys have not been disappointed or feel this is lacking, obviously.
No, I think if you had every stage as sounding like it did in Act 2 of Diablo 2 in the palace, you'd kind of get a little tired of it. Hearing the you'd be like, okay, that's enough.
Says the man who muted Diablo 2.
I never.
Yeah, I generally played Diablo 2 with the sound off as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Matt. Well, not the sound off, but the music would get turned down.
If we could talk about the voice acting.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. The voice acting, there's massive amounts of recorded lines, and every NPC's got audible speech for everything.
As someone that I actually have some background in film, I enjoy a lot of the voice work, except for the timing. I think a lot of it is too rushed. I think they need to maybe put in a second or two of a pause between some of the dialogues to make it feel not like it's just sped out like it is right now in the game. It's just you just feel like they're just trying to machine gun talk their way through it, and I understand that that's the point of Diablo is to get to the action.
Yeah.
But take a little more time with a little bit of the dialogue to give you a little bit of a feeling of pacing between the sentences and stuff.
Well, I have to say to that point, I really like the journal entries that you find, especially the ones of Lazarus talking about going to Tristram originally, like way back in Diablo 1, and being confused why the Archbishop would choose that town. And so I like the pacing in those. I feel because it's playing as you're playing, so there's no interruption in gameplay. So I think they felt they could avoid the rush and just let us hear some of the background story.
Do you think they're a little too fond of the echo effect on some of their dialogues?
Well,
I guess that's a no.
I guess that's
Like,
no. I haven't really noticed it too much.
it seems like every time that like King Leoric talks or something, it's like he's in a wind tunnel, you know? It's like this deep echoing bass rumble below him, and anytime a ghost or demon makes any kind of a noise,
Oh, okay.
it's just like they've really cranked up the echo on it to give it this depth. Which of course I guess they're talking in a dungeon usually, so the acoustics are what they are, but
Yeah.
I thought they maybe overused that a few times.
I don't know. It could be realistic. I haven't been in the dungeon lately and heard some
I haven't talked to I haven't talked to a
giant-
zombie lately either.
giant ghost guy to go yelling at me. So
Yeah, not since my divorce.
Yeah.
So have you guys tried out the auction house at all?
I have a little bit with my Blizzard
And
books.
here's where you elaborate and share your feelings and opinions on it.
I think it still needs a lot of work with searching for items, and just being able to bid on things. You're not bringing an eBay experience into the game. It's still got a ways to go before it's equal to eBay. Where if I bid on something, and I just do a minimum bid above what it is at the current time, and I say, oh shoot, I want to add more to that bid. You can't unless you taking separate money. So it's not like you're just adding a couple more dollars. You have to actually outbid yourself to be able to bid higher. So when you outbid yourself, you'll get the money back, but then you'll be in the same position because you're like, okay, now I only have, this much money that I can't go higher than that because you only have the 50 right now.
The Bobby Bucks, the
Yes.
beta bucks you're talking about.
Yes, the beta bucks. Because you can't. They disabled the gold
yeah.
for right now.
I think from my use of the auction house, it's broken. The sorting doesn't work at all. There's missing affixes from the drop down list because for those of you who haven't done it, you select what armor or what type you want. Like, do you want an armor? Do you want a one-handed weapon? Do you want a two-handed weapon? And then you can get into more detail. Do you want a bow? Do you want a necklace? Do you want a ring? Et cetera, et cetera. And then once you've selected all those categories, you can select what you want on your item, which is pretty good. Like if you want a necklace that gives attack or whatever, but there are things that you would want to get. Like, for example, like I was saying earlier, in beta, having plus min plus max damage on your rings is an amulet and offhand item in the case of the wizard is one of the best ways to boost your damage. And you can't search by min damage or max damage. And they really need a text box because everyone knows that affix it's the suffix of wounding. So if I could just type wounding into a text box, that would make the search a lot simpler. Although
you don't want to scroll down 500 prefixes every time to find wounding?
No. Yeah, I mean, there's like 20 pages of rings, and there's like 3 woundings and you can't even filter by the numbers because the plus min plus max damage is missing entirely from the filter. So if you wanted only wounding rings with a max damage greater than 9, you couldn't do it. And so, yeah, it has a lot of work to do, but I think it's obvious that it's broken and not working. I don't think that Blizzard has any plans to ship it as is.
At least not in Korea, but
Oh.
Hey now. Did either of you guys do much trading in Diablo 2?
I didn't do really any besides like a friend, just trading with a friend.
I did a lot, and I hated it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, would you have traded more in D2 Eliminator if it had a decent search engine and functionality like in Diablo 3, or were you just philosophically you were find it yourself kind of guy?
No, if it was more accessible, I probably would have used it. But,
oh God, accessibility.
Yes. Well, you wanted to bring up that debate.
The dirty. Yeah, we're getting to that in a minute. It's like you traded in D2 Wolfpaq, and like everybody else, you thought it sucked.
Yeah, I mean, trade channels, trade games were awful. I guess I wasn't too keen on using external, like third-party sites like ours, to trade. Although in my most recent playthrough, I did use it for a few trades, and that actually was great. But I mean, we shouldn't have to use a forum on a third-party website to try to trade. So I'm really glad that they're going to be having an auction house in D3.
And how are you guys? We've probably mentioned this in the past, but how are you philosophically on the real money aspect of auction house?
Me, I'm fine with it, really.
Yeah, it's people are going to be buying items for real money, so I might as well do it in a area where I have a chance to make some real money off it, you know.
And do you think it seems like that was the biggest debate in the world back like in August when it was news, and people have just kind of accepted it now? I haven't seen a lot of complaints about it anymore, except for kind of bitter vitriol from some people.
Yeah, like one out of every 20 posts will be like, "Oh, I hate the RMH." You're like, okay.
Yeah, it's like yeah, I'm just gonna play Skyrim because at least they don't make you pay to win or something. It's like yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah, those people, they just either left or they finally came to the conclusion that it's not a big deal.
Yeah, Bobby's eyes wore them down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of silly to hold a grudge against a game, you know, because you're gonna be either you're gonna play it anyway or you're not. I mean, there's so many more important things to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, people would just be like, "Oh, I'm so upset. Why'd they have to put this real money stuff in here? I'm not gonna play the game now." Okay.
It's like, well, don't let the door hit you on the way out, right?
Yeah. It's just.
So the kind of the big issue that we've been hinting at and leading up to somewhat, that's been most of the debate about the beta, is the difficulty or difficulty versus challenging, whatever you want to call it,
Or accessibility.
Yeah, that or dumbed down. And early on, neither of you guys were fortunate enough to play it from the start, but it was much easier. Each patch has basically made it harder. They've upped monster hit points quite a bit, and they've done some things to lower your starting damage with basic weapons. And they've made monster densities a little thicker later on, like in the cathedral and such.
And they've nerfed blue drops.
Yeah, and this is all the while saying it's supposed to be easy. It's a tutorial at the start of the game, etc. So obviously even Blizzard agreed that it was a little bit too easy. How do you guys feel about the general level of challenge and the speed of the game and such in the early going?
The very first time you play it without any extra stuff, like playing it clean, it's not really that challenging. It's just.
But do you want it to be? Or do you think it's what it is and you're happy with it?
You know what? I'm happy with it because we can judge on what we have, but we can't judge about what the whole game is going to be like. So, I mean, all I can say is that it's a little easy right now, but I have no idea what the rest of the game is going to be like if it's going to continue this trend. Even if normal is this easy, you know that anything past normal is not going to be this easy. And I mean, it brings up that debate that Ellie brought up. She doesn't want to play a game where it's really easy. She would like to just jump into the kind of harder part. And it would be nice if that was a possibility, but it's not. So, it's going to take you, maybe a couple of hours to get through the entire game to get into the nightmare. So I'm not really that concerned about it.
What do you think, Wolfpaq?
I honestly, I think the difficulty is fine. I think that the reason it's getting such a bad rap is that, like Eliminator was saying, it's not that challenging when you're playing through at a fresh start, but it is really not challenging as soon as you go past. As soon as you are no longer playing clean, as soon as you've beaten the Skeleton King the first time, you've gotten your rare, and then from there it just gets exponentially easier because you get at least four, probably 5 levels above any monster in the game. You craft items at a level. I haven't tested this thoroughly, but I'm almost positive that crafting. So affixes don't work like they do in Diablo 2. You have one suffix that adds attack, and it can add anywhere from, and it's of the lion, and it can add anywhere from +1 attack, which I've seen on my low-level characters, and it can add all the way up to like +35 attack, which you get when you craft the one-handed mace we've been talking about all game. So,
which like doubles your damage. Attack has a huge effect on your damage.
Every point of attack is 1% increase. So anyways, the point I'm trying to make here is when you are crafting at level 13, you are getting as much attack as you should be getting at level 13 for fighting level 13 monsters, but you're fighting level 8 monsters. And so you just obliterate them, and it's just not even. I mean, it's fun. I have fun obliterating monsters, but it's not a challenge. And I don't think it should be a challenge because it's the first third or half, I'm not quite sure what the percentage is, but of the first act of the first difficulty. So having it be extremely tough or challenging would sort of be out of place. But I do know that several people I've talked to on their first playthrough have had challenges or come pretty close to dying on more than one occasion. And me, myself, when I was playing through the first time, I got ambushed by a group of super fast leapers that were all magna or fire enchanted, and it was pretty brutal for my level 2 sorcerer or wizard. So yeah, I mean, that RNG can give you a challenge. There's not likely going to be one, but like Eliminator was saying, hopefully the future difficulties will actually start to bring a legitimate challenge.
And this is obviously a philosophical change in Diablo 3 a little bit. You know, they've always talking about accessibility, and we have these big accessibility versus dumbed down arguments. And they want it to be very welcoming and easy for noobs, and there's always comments, somebody, Bastiak's like, my mom can play it now, and it's better that way. And it's like, well, okay, that's great for your mom, but... And you guys are... It seems like their plan is that people like us who really like the game and want to play it will put up with not really having a challenge on normal and maybe even not on nightmare. But then when you get to hell or inferno, it's going to really be hard and kick ass. And they expect that we won't have any objections to playing through it almost on a walkthrough kind of mode. And then it'll get hard later, whereas at the same time, people who are new to a game and would give up if it was what we would consider to be challenging will be, lulled along and maybe they'll become hardcore players. Any objections to this? I mean, it seems, we may not like it so much, but you can certainly kind of see their point of view.
Yeah, I could definitely see that point of view on having it very low level entry and then ease the player into the harder stuff so that more people are actually more interested in staying in the game, because that's really where they want you to keep playing the game now, especially with the real money transactions and stuff. They want you to get into the game, get hooked on the game, and then start to trade a little bit. So I think it's going to work out just fine.
Like, what do you think if you started up a fresh character in Diablo 2 right now and went all the way through to, say, the Rescue Cain mission? Do you think that would be harder than starting from scratch and beating the D3?
Given that I have actually done that in the last month with 2 new characters in Diablo 2 Classic, I can say that yes, it's a lot harder.
It is a lot harder. Okay.
It's much harder to get equipment. I think I've really noticed in Diablo 2. Gambling is so hit or miss.
Yeah.
Whereas as soon as you start crafting anything in Diablo 3, you can just get way above the level curve, just almost instantly.
Yeah, because you can get exactly what you want. It's not like...
And it's really good items, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just the quality... The thing that I've really noticed in playing Diablo 2 Classic lately, and also when I played Torchlight 2 last year, I guess now, so long ago, is that it just is so much faster paced in terms of things moving all over the place. The first boss pack of Fallen Shaman you get in Diablo 2, you can get that like in the second area pretty much.
Yeah.
Requires more strategy and him and actually the other one. What's the Bishibosh?
Oh, okay, yeah.
For one, but you have to run around, you have to dodge stuff. There's monsters coming back to life behind you. You can't take on like 5 Fallen at once at that point without twinks. And they're raising up dead shamans, and there's more positioning, more movement, more speed, more things coming from different angles. At level 5 or 6 in Diablo 2 than I've ever seen at any point in the entire Diablo 3 beta. And whether or not that's bad or good, it's accessibility and stuff. But I just really noticed that. I actually was wondering if that might be due to the resolution, because, I mean, literally D2C, it's 640, 480. You don't even have the 800, 600 option.
Yep.
And I've actually played a fair amount of Diablo 3 just in the zoom mode, or turning my resolution all the way down to see if it made a difference. And just the movement speed of your character and the projectiles and the enemies and, everything is just much, much slower in Diablo 3. And obviously that gives it more room to accelerate. I'm sure we'll all have, 1,000% faster run or something in hell, and monsters will be much faster as well, and arrows and, fireballs and everything else. But it's just really noticeable. I mean, I was playing D2C to like level 20 with a couple of characters, and then I went and played Diablo 3 for the first time in like 2 weeks, and I almost had to quit before I got to town. It reminded me of playing Diablo 1 when you join town and you can't run. And you're like,
Oh
this is
yeah.
so slow, I can't tolerate this, why am I not moving?
Mm.
That's what Diablo 3 feels like initially after you've been playing Diablo 2. And that's not even Diablo 2 with high-level characters and faster run stuff. That was just early game.
Mm.
And so it's just the overall pace and the speed of reflexes required to succeed has been greatly diminished. Of course, intentionally, because, grandma don't click fast.
Well, I can see there are certain characters, certain monsters, I should say, that are in Diablo in the beta that you can see can give you the same kind of problems that the shamans used to give you, like the spell casting skeleton guys that summon guys. They could summon guys like in behind you and stuff like that. I could see them being a bit of a problem later on in Nightmare or Hell.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get all kinds of shaman and everything like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have any real doubt that Diablo 3 will be challenging. Maybe in Hell or Inferno at least.
Especially, I could just imagine like the Grotesques. If there's a lot of skeletons that kind of like get you stuck in there with the Grotesque, and he's about to blow, and you're like, oh crap, I can't get the heck out of here. And he does a crap load of damage to you, unlike what he does in the beta right now. If you're a couple levels higher than him, it doesn't even take off a millimeter of health off your guy.
I have to say though, it's pretty hilarious that the grotesque explosions kills those skeletons.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, how many games did you guys play before you noticed that Grotesques actually deal AoE to the monsters as well?
I think it was really like the first time that I played that I noticed he killed off the guys in the group with him.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you get experience for what he kills, so I've been making it a point to kill him last.
So I haven't noticed that either.
I can get the drops and the XP or whatever.
I didn't notice that until I played, I think, a monk. Like, I played a witch doctor first, and then I played a wizard. And I'd kind of noticed it, vaguely. But until I was playing, but everything else was kind of damaged already. And when I finally played a monk and I was, doing big damage to one target at a time, or maybe two or three, then that's when you start to notice that you can use the Grotesque to kill off like 10 different monsters around him. It's really, what's really fun is when you get the champion packs of Grotesques.
Yeah, and it just starts this chain reaction.
Yeah, and if you just kill one, it'll kill all the others, and then it'll kill their eels when they come out, when the next one blows up right when the eels come out. And it's like, bingo, it's dominoes.
Yeah, it's
the only eels that you have to actually kill are the ones from the last Grotesque.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, Flux, one more thing I wanted to say to your point about how gambling was so hit or miss, and by that you mean like 99% miss. I love that items are useful from the beginning of the game. I mean, when you played in D3, right? I mean, so when you played up to level 6, like what did you have that was good? Almost nothing. The item system in D2 was so random, and there were so few affixes that were actually really good for your damage compared to how many there were total. It was it was almost theoretically rares would be best in slot in several places if you could design it yourself, but it was so impossibly difficult to ever get a rare that had everything you needed. 99% of the time you just took the unique that you could get. Like for your amulet, for example, you could get an amulet that had 20% cast speed, true to your class skills, and all resist, and tons of life, tons of dex, tons of strength, tons of mana, but no one ever got that. And the few times someone did, it got duped like crazy, but that's a different, that's a tangent. But anyways, the point is I'm really happy that items are useful from the beginning of the game, even if it does make the game easier, which I think, like you said, the items are the big reason why the beta is so simple right now. You try playing the game naked, like several people have, and filmed it, it becomes a challenge.
Yeah,
I've done actually a lot of playing like with the Barbarian without using any weapons, because it's just everything dies in one hit otherwise. And it's like, once you get to like level 10, and you really can't even tell, you can't like evaluate strategies or skills. Like, oh, this kills them all in one hit. Oh, so does this. Well, look at this one too.
Yeah.
Well, like, you need to nerf yourself to even be able to experiment.
Yeah,
because I was playing around with the Demon Hunter today, and I had the 2 crossbows that I just had made, and I put them on, and they had given me like 70 something DPS, and then I took them off and I had 3 DPS. So I was like,
Makes a little difference.
Yes,
So
just
just a little
slightly.
bit.
Do you think that crafting, obviously you like crafting, Wolfpaq, but do you think it's too easy to get good items early on?
Um,
I mean, they're fairly low cost. It's kind of hard to say in the beta because, your artisans, like I still can't say that word, can I? Because they go across your account. So once you've leveled up your blacksmith a few times, then any new character can immediately make an item they wouldn't be able to get. But of course, that'll happen in the game as well. But
right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm glad that they're not forcing you to be stuck with the bad gear that drops, because that's just not fun.
does it not lessen the whole point in item finding when you can make something in town that's going to be much better than anything you'll find in 99% of the chances?
Well, we can't really judge on that because we're stuck in one little area.
Yeah.
But not only that, when you're making a character from scratch, you're not making him to magic find or to item find. It is really exciting when you find a new item on the ground that is great for you, but that's definitely not the priority when you're leveling up. I mean, your goal is to level up, because, I mean, one of the things I really hated in D2 was the weakness your character was until you actually got to those late levels and were able to equip gear that was actually decent. Like, I mean, one of the most notorious areas was the tombs in the Canyon of the Magi or whatever.
Yeah.
That you could walk into a tomb and have hundreds of skeletons just swarming you, and absolutely nothing you could do about it. You cast one spell 3 times and you're out of mana, and then you're like meleeing them with your staff, and you're like, I hate my life right now.
And if you can't freeze them, they just get resurrected constantly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can't life leech because they're skeletons.
Yep.
Remember back when games were hard? Oh, wait. So that, I guess, to kind of segue a little there, you guys seem to like the resources. I mean, in Diablo 3, that's one of the things that I think makes it seem so easy. Like you just said in Diablo 2, you could be kick-ass with a skill, and then your mana goes very quickly, and now you're hitting them with a stick.
Yeah.
Whereas in Diablo 3, you're pretty much unlimited resources with every character in the early going.
Well, and again, it's all circular because you're doing so much damage once you go through it once that you're just killing things with one hit. And you're not even really using a whole lot of your resource. So it's kind of hard to gauge on how it's going to work later on, because you're always you got a full bar almost every single time you kill something.
Yeah.
For those guys that deplete bars instead of adding bars.
Yeah. I have to say, I think the resources are great. It's just every class really does feel pretty different. I mean, even though, like, especially the Demon Hunter, the Monk, and the Barbarian all feel really similar if you just look at them, because, you generate Fury, you spend Fury, you generate Spirit, you spend Spirit. Like, the way it works in practice is quite different, and I like that.
Is there something to be said for a scarcity of a resource making skills more powerful? Like, for instance, in Diablo 2, I've been playing in Classic with my Boazon. When I first got a few points in Strafe, it was so kick-ass in my damage increase. And, of course, it's costing me 11 mana, and I've got, like, 52 mana in my entire pool. And there's no charms, and I don't have any good equipment. I have no leech. So Strafe is awesome, but I could use it 4 times, and then I'm out.
Well, it's kind of like
does it make you appreciate it more when you can't just use it forever, like most of the Diablo 3 skills?
the wizard with the orb that explodes. I can't forget the name.
Arcane Orb.
Yeah, Arcane Orb. That takes
and
away.
You can only cast like 3 of those.
Yeah, you can only cast about 4 of those, and that thing really does feel powerful because of that.
It's weird. They made that a much lower level in the recent patches. It used to be like level 9 or 10 or something, and now it's like 4. So as soon as you get that, you can just kill like 10 skeletons with every one of them.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, but yeah, you do still get that feeling of it's powerful because of the fact that it uses so much energy.
Okay, and that's the one skill in the beta that does that.
Yeah, exactly. The one. Well, the
rapid fire kind of does the same thing. It runs out pretty quickly at low levels.
Yeah, but rapid fire really isn't that powerful though if you don't have the gear to go along with it.
Well, compared to your other, I mean, you can almost do more than rapid fire just with whatever the guided arrows. What the hell is that called? Hungering arrow?
I think what's it called? It does a lot more though.
Can you be more specific?
Entangling shot.
Yeah.
Because it hits 2 targets all the time that are close to each other.
Yeah.
and it does more damage than hungering arrow.
But it doesn't guide it, and you can get multiple hits per shot with hungering arrow.
Yeah, but it's always a percentage, and I always seem to be unlucky with that percentage for some reason.
Alas.
Yeah, I mean, so going back to your original question, Flux, about skills being powerful and then not being able to use them again for a long time, I don't think there's any. I just don't think that's good gameplay design. I mean, in Diablo 2, as you were leveling up, you either got a merc with what was that? Insight to give you the meditation aura, so mana wasn't a problem, and that was really helpful. But you couldn't even get that until the mid-20s, so you spent like the first 20 levels going out of mana constantly until you had enough damage and enough leech or enough mana and mana regen to sustain your mana pool, at which point resource became completely forgotten.
And that's in Diablo 2 expansion when you also had charms. The mercs have no auras in Diablo 2 Classic.
Oh, sorry.
They don't even have equipment. They're nothing. They're just completely useless.
Yeah, I'm thinking of LOD.
Once you get to D2X, you could get charms on and boost that up, and you could also socket equipment and do other fun things.
Yeah.
And you're still saying even that was frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, so there was resource really, really mattered, which was the early game, and then you don't even think about resource at all, which was the end game of Diablo 2, and I think the way they have
so Diablo 3, you just never think about it at all right from the start.
Well, that's correct, but also monsters. I mean, no, like.
No, I think you do have to think about it.
You do have to think about it because monks are. I found myself playing the monk and wondering why I didn't have more spirit frequently. I would definitely look into ways to boost that if I was going to play monk a lot. And with the Barbarian, you can't take a bunch of Fury spenders because you wouldn't be able to use them all at the same time. The Fury Bald actually does deplete pretty quickly. I think the max is 100, and every skill costs like 20. Yeah. And your auto attacks only generate 5, and your 10, 12-second cooldowns only generate 15. So, I mean, it's a pretty fair balance, and you definitely notice it with the Demon Hunter with Discipline, because that takes forever to regen.
I think one of the things that it really shines the light on it is the fact that the normal skills, the generators, are really fun to use a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So you don't mind keep spamming, and that's sometimes you get into like that mode where you keep spamming your generator because you enjoy using it so much, and you forget kind of to use the spender a little bit.
Yeah,
you don't even need to use the spender at this point.
I mean, yeah, in the game that we're in right now, because of the level situation and the power situation, is that you don't even need to, so you don't even bother with it.
I think ideally, by the time we do reach endgame and we're killing monsters in Inferno, you're actually going to have to pay attention to your resource and your resource management, and that should add a pretty cool, or hopefully not too frustrating, element to the game. Being able to balance the damage you're doing with your resource generation.
Well, I hope so by Inferno. If it's not by then, it's not gonna happen at all. I guess.
Then it's just gonna be, why not have no resources? Like a G2.
But Jay Wilson has said early on, talking about the wizard, it's like it's no fun to run out of mana, and you can't cast spells anymore, and that's not fun. So.
Well, that's why
they've made a system where there's low level skills you can always cast, and there's the other ones that are a little more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, Disintegrate isn't going to be able to take out massive packs of monsters forever. You're going to have to,
so you hope.
Well, no, it's only 135% weapon damage. Eventually, you're going to have to move on to bigger hitting skills, I would think. Well, yeah, so I hope, right? There's no way for me to know.
There's no evidence of that in the beta, but yes, we're assuming that there will be scaling up.
Yeah.
So we're almost to an hour, guys. Any final thoughts? Any big points you wanted to get to we didn't get around to?
Oh, yes. I really hate what they did to the respec system. So it used to be, when I first started playing beta a couple months ago, you could respec anywhere at any time. And granted, I understand that that's not ideal because you could just be swapping out skills in combat, which is definitely defeats the purpose of having a 6 skill limit. But instead of doing the obvious solution of having respecking take a couple seconds, they made it so you can only forget respecking. You can only look at your skills when you are standing next to an altar of something. I can't remember the name. Nephilim. Okay, and so I guess the idea is these altars would be scattered throughout the world, but in the beta I've only seen two, and one of them's in town, and the other one is at the Cathedral Level 1 entrance.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, but when I get to the level 1 entrance, I'm freaking level 2 with 3 skills and 2 skill slots. Like that's the worst placement ever. And I don't know. I really don't like this solution, and I hope they change it.
I was saying they could at least change it so that whenever you're at a waypoint.
Yeah, a waypoint or every checkpoint should have an altar if that's what their plan is, to stick with that. Oh, and then
of course, at every waypoint you can go back to town in 1 second and click the Nephilim altar, which is 1 foot from the waypoint in town.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it should be at every checkpoint if it's something that's designed to be, like usable, or I don't know. I really, after having that freedom and then having it taken away for when there are so many better alternative solutions, such as just giving respects a cast time. When you cast Town Portal, or when you get to one of those stones that'll teleport you to the beginning of a dungeon, there's a cast bar above your head, and if you take any damage, that cancels. So they have that implemented. Why not just, while you're trying to respec, if you take any damage for the next 5 seconds, it cancels and you go back to your original. I feel that would be a much better solution than this altar nonsense. You unlock new skills as you level up, right? And it's the most ridiculous thing. You get this message, oh, you've unlocked this awesome skill, and when you go to try to read about it, you can't open your skill list.
Yeah, you can only look at your skill list in front of the Nephilim altar.
And then when you go back to town, you have this hideous icon above your hotbar, which I guess indicates...
Which never ever goes away.
Yeah, until you actually click on the altar itself. It's just... I don't know what they were thinking.
Do you think that they sometimes put in bad things in patches in the first place, just so we'll feel like it's an improvement when they fix it later?
It's an interesting philosophy.
I would believe
like they're playing possum or something, and it's like, oh, what's some horrible solution? Everyone will hate this. And then when we fix it, like, oh, look, they're making such good changes in the game.
I think that's a bit of a conspiracy theory, if not for the Nephilim altars.
Yeah, the fact that you can't even look at your skills is pretty annoying.
It's
even if you don't want to change it, it's like, can I at least see what it is? No, you can't.
Nope.
You can't.
Go to town.
Go back to town.
Go to town.
And of course, they've made many changes in the game to make you never have to go to town. So.
Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, their whole it's a very good point. They're defeating themselves.
From what I used to see when the beta first came out to what I'm playing now, the classes feel and look a whole lot better than they did when they first started. They really do have their own personality while you're playing them. So I'm really enjoying the difference of every class, and for the first time I think ever in any type of game like this I'm enjoying every single class. It's not like I'm saying, oh, this guy sucks and I don't like him.
Do you guys have any special preferences for which gender of which class? Do you kind of go with the ones they used when they first announced them? Does it seem normal that a monk should be a male, not a female? Being that would be, of course, a nun.
I'm only going to play a male barbarian and a female wizard for Diablo 2.
I kind of like the male wizard's voice though. I don't think he's bad at all. I haven't tried the female wizard's voice. I haven't listened to it yet. But I don't mind the male wizard's voice. I think it's pretty good.
You guys don't have any strong will not play? Like it just seems wrong that there's a male witch doctor or something, or the witch nurse should be the female?
I don't really have any sort of bias like that. I just whatever one I feel like playing.
You're so modern. You're so post-racial.
I know.
You're post-gender.
Yeah.
I'm so PC.
You're an inspiration to all the racist hatred assholes on the internet, many of whom are on our comment section. So, at least on YouTube, not on the regular website, of course.
Oh, one other thing I did want to talk about.
He actually said, oh.
Yes, he did.
Did you jump from foot to foot when you said that?
Sort of.
Okay, let's just play. No, but your chinchilla did. Okay, go ahead.
So the threatening, what's it called? The threatening shout, the barbarian skill that reduces all damage by 50% is ridiculous.
Yeah, from 2 to 1. Yes. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, no, it's just I don't understand how that's if I had to pick any skill that I've played with so far to get a nerf, that would be it.
Really, any skill.
Any skill in the entire beta that I've experienced, I think that one, because how are you going to balance Inferno? You either going to assume that Barbarians are lowering everyone's damage by half, or you're going to assume they aren't, and then Barbarians will be tanking gods, and like everyone will want a Barbarian in their party to reduce every single damage they take by 50%. Like that's crazy, isn't it? Like 50% DR straight up debuff, and on top of your armor, your defense, your resistances. Like that stacks with all of that. That's crazy to me.
Maybe that's their answer to battle orders from Diablo 2, where everybody had a barbarian, so you can immediately double your hit points.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, they have that too, right? With Invigorating Warcry. I'm very excited about that skill.
Look at you! You even know the names of the skill runes.
Well, I just made a build on the Barbarian forum that sort of revolved around that.
It's called what? Invigorating what?
Invigorating Warcry. It's Alabaster Ruined Warcry, and it increases your max health and gives you like 122 regen per second.
That sounds like a name for a new stick of gum from some company. Invigorating Warcry.
Yes.
It makes you minty fresh after you use it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we've gone far enough off topic here.
Yep.
Any last thoughts, guys? That's pretty much it, I guess. We save material for the second half of this podcast, which will be coming up next week.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, you've been listening to the Diablo Podcast. We are online at diablopodcast.com. And this is Flux, and I was joined by Wolfpaq and Eliminator. Thanks, guys.
See you later.
Thank you.
And enjoy yourselves in Azeroth, or whatever that game is set.
Oh.
Azeroth? It's not Azeroth, is it? That's StarCraft.
That's WoW, isn't it?
No one knows what that game is.
No.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Moo.
Moo.
Ooh.